It's Anastasia, 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 Anastasia,
Anastasia, Anastasia.
Look at her! Look at her!
You get the three of us sitting around and a musical's bound to break out.
Oh, bound to.
Bound. Hello, I'm Adam.
I'm Tina.
And I'm Drew.
And we're
Brewing Theater.
Oh,
don't
wow.
smell,
We
don't
almost
smell.
overflowed with our
It's real coffee.
enthusiasm. It's real coffee.
It's real coffee. No play in here.
we ain't
We are
using pop
method.
coffee.
We are method.
We're method with our coffee. Yes, we are. I'm going to do a little
Let's get
ASMR.
ready for
now.
the three of us because we are the Carol Burnett Show, FYI.
That's ASMR.
Oh, that was good.
Is that right?
She's Carol.
ASMR. I don't even know.
You're
what
Harvey
I'm talking
Korman.
Are you
or-
Vicky?
Oh, can I
I'm
be-
Vicky. I'm totally
No,
Vicky.
I
You're
want to be
more
the other
Carol.
guy.
You're Tim Conway.
I want to be Tim Conway.
Oh,
Yes.
not Lyle Wagner.
No, he couldn't keep a straight face
I
to
was
save
so
his
in
life.
love with Lyle
He was
Wagner.
so cute.
I was so in love
He
with
was so cute.
He was Steve. He was Steve Trevor in the Wonder Womans, wasn't he?
I think that's right.
Yeah, he was.
I don't know. Anyway,
Drew doesn't know about the Wonder
Drew,
Womans.
Drew, do you realize that we have been working together for like 27 or 28 years? I
Really?
feel like I literally feel like that nonsense was just yesterday in some ways.
I
feel
know
like
it,
that
I know
we
it.
just finished doing that show and I was having back surgery and you brought my chapstick.
Yes,
And
your
I have some
friendship
with me.
is now eligible for state retirement.
Wow.
Wow. I know.
Well, yeah, I love nonsense. You had just moved here. I didn't
Yes.
know you. And you had just moved here and you came in with a storm. And that was one of the funnest plays I think I've ever done. We had so much fun. in
We laughed so hard even when I had to go on for Carol.
that was a
Craziest thing.
Carol, who played Mother Superior in the show, and she was fabulous in that.
Was.
She got sick. She had a stomach virus.
There was a stomach virus that went through Tuscaloosa because there were other shows that were affected by that.
Took Tuscaloosa by storm.
Really?
It did.
It seriously
And I'll
did.
never forget because Tina said to all of us, y'all come on in early. We've got some things we need to work out. And we were like, okay. And then Tina faces Carol, and Carol was a green at the time. You
Yeah.
can tell she felt so bad.
And it wasn't envy, y'all.
No, it wasn't. And I remember Tina saying, do you feel like you can do the show? And we're all like this. And Carol said, no. But
She's funny even when she's not trying
Oh
to be.
my gosh.
The comic timing.
But it was actually a once in a lifetime experience because Tina had her clipboard in her arms. And by the way, Mother Superior is probably one of the main characters in the whole
Yeah,
play of
a lot of
Nonsense.
lines.
She has a
And
lot
so-
more lines than I thought she did. I can
I
tell
like
you
singing
that.
too.
Oh, I mean, just there. But it was masterful. And what was even kind of magic about it is a lot of the audience knew what was happening.
Yeah, Charlie
Right.
Goodis got up and said, hey,
Yeah.
Tina's going to
Oh.
step in today. Did
Oh,
you know
really?
that? I
I
didn't
didn't
know that
know
until
that.
later.
Appearing in the role of Mother Superior
Right.
is Tina Turley.
I did
we
not
don't
know that. But it
Did
was.
y'all have time for an insert in the playbill?
No, this was like.
You just had time to insert
Carol
Tina.
started calling me like at 7 o'clock in the morning. I was like, you know how actors are. You're like, whatever. You're not feeling good. Takes bend up his long, call me in the morning. And
That's
so,
how it used to be.
So literally, she would check in with me, or I'd call her back, and then by, I don't know, 9 or 10, I was like calling the other gals and going, meet me up there early, just in case.
Just in
At the
case.
historic Bama Theater.
Yes.
Yes.
We did Nonsense. That was before all of this wonderful.
That's right.
stuff.
We were building this, Bean Brown,
Right.
but we were still at the Bama as our home, and yeah, so that was crazy. But
It was crazy.
fun.
I remember Kathy Morgan came up, who
Mm-hmm.
was also in the play, came up to me. We'd already started. You were just killing it. And Kathy said, I have a song with Mother Superior.
Do it.
That just goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And Kathy, it had just then occurred to her.
And
And
y'all hadn't run it or anything.
no, we didn't have time to run
Oh, bless.
anything.
No.
And that's the last I thought of that. So it must have gone pretty well.
Well, I can remember we were on the opposite side of the stage, and I just remember thinking, does Carol sing the lead or the harmony?
You know what? It doesn't matter at that point. You
At
just
that
get
point,
it out.
you just and
get
it was
out.
it was like literally a banter song,
Yeah.
and I don't.
Like
a lot
learn
of
to
that's
do
a
it.
blur. A lot of that really is a blur, but it was
I
fun.
think some of it was on purpose, you know. You know, those I don't know about you guys, but I have these actors' nightmares
yes.
all the time. You know,
100%.
you have to go on stage and do a part that you did 20 years ago, and you can't find your script.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's not that I have to do it in the past. It's that I'm at Phantom, and the Phantom's gone down, and they
Oh
need
my
me
gosh,
to step
you
in.
have to play Phantom.
And I got to step in. I'm like, okay, I can probably do it. It's all right. I've learned all the words, but I'm a little nervous.
Well, I've lived the director's nightmare, so
You've done it.
I mean,
You've done it.
having
Yeah.
to go in for that, it really was one of those things that you just didn't have time to think about. You just did it.
And
Right.
maybe that was a good thing.
Yeah, because
You
if
know?
you'd have sat around thinking about it, you got nervous because
Right.
there wasn't time for that. You just had to. Well, you know, some people may have tuned into this episode thinking they're going to talk about theatrical collaboration, and all I've heard about is nuns. So, how's that for a blunt transition into one of the important reasons we invited Drew Baker to be our guest on the show today is the other hat that you wear besides actress extraordinaire and storyteller extraordinaire and mother extraordinaire is what? Tell everybody about your role.
I am the artistic director for Tuscaloosa Children's Theater. I've been in that position since 2009, and it is the true love of my life because it blends two things, theater
Right?
and children.
Yes.
She's so good at it.
Oh, bless
I'm
you.
so not
You're like the
good at
Pied
it.
Piper of children.
You
'cause
are.
They just follow you
Well,
around
you-
and they're like,
you-
Miss Drew, Miss Drew.
Well, you can't fake not love it. You know, it comes from our
Right.
heart.
No, I know it's genuine. You love those kids.
Truly love them, and it's so exciting to see them grow up in our program, which really starts at 6 years of age.
Right.
And then they get older, they're teenagers, and they start coming to Theater Tuscaloosa.
Yep.
And I'd like to say the transitions normally are pretty smooth.
They
Oh, yeah,
are
for the
very
most part.
smooth.
And so, and actually for years, TCT, we and Theater Tuscaloosa did a summer camp together.
And then y'all got your own building.
And then we got our own
Yes.
building, but we're about to get another building. Shout out to the Sabin Center. We're really
That's
excited
amazing.
about
It
that.
is so exciting. that
That's
y'all
a
can be there.
huge step. I mean, Children's Theater's done such great work for so long, and I love to come in and watch those shows. I love to sort of slip in and watch the kids shows with kids.
Yes, the student matinees are so fun.
There's nothing quite like that. It's amazing, and you guys do amazing work. Drew, I don't know how you do it sometimes with 100 kids on stage. I don't know. I would
What's
lose my
100?
mind.
What's 100?
Right? What's 100 kids? But that's a
It's
real
a parade is what it is. It's not theater, it's a parade.
That's a gift. That is a gift because I do not have it. I do not have that gift.
But you have many gifts that I don't have, Tina.
I don't
And
know about that.
what's so great, I think, and I can sit in here and talk about TCT and Theater Tuscaloosa forever and ever, but I'm sure they'll kick me out. But
Oh, no.
one of the great things that we like to do is before our public shows, for each show, we have 6 school shows
Right.
where we bus in, and I'm talking about thousands
Thousands.
of kids from all around Tuscaloosa County and beyond. We've had some kids come from Mississippi with their classes. And so the kids that are on stage, they get so much joy out of seeing their class members out there, their teachers, although they never break the fourth wall
No, oh, well.
Unless they're supposed to.
unless they're supposed to.
I've occasionally seen
Yeah.
a little 6-year-old be like, hey, Mom.
But
Cute as pigs.
It's adorable.
the confidence it instills in them, and I say this all the time, these children that do theater with us or with y'all, it just flows over into every part of their life.
Oh, 100%.
All the way from teamwork, working
Right.
with the cast, to communication with your eyes, with your face, with your voice,
Right.
and the confidence in your body, and the confidence that it gives them. You cannot put a price on it. You really can't.
And they go on to do other things, great things. You know, we've got lots of alums from Children's Theater and Theater Tuscaloosa that have gone on to do great things. And in fact, Jameson Sanford was a TCT kid, and he's designed the set for Anastasia, which is amazing. And you know, he started out as a young actor, and then decided that he wanted to go to the design route. And I think he's also interested in directing, but.
He's directed for us before.
He's a good example of, you know, somebody that started just, you know, wanting to get involved and then has gone on to do great things. We know lots of people who have gone on to do great things and have become educators, and so it's a great place for people to start, and to not just start but learn up. I mean, some of these kids are involved from the time they're 5 or 6 until we go, you can no longer do, you're 27 years old.
You literally cannot be on stage anymore, because this is a Disney Junior, and you can only be 19, but you can work backstage and be a little bit older. Now, one thing I'd like to talk about is that our community is very fortunate that we do kind of have this pipeline from early childhood all the way to adulthood. No matter what age you are, you can hop into the world of theater at any of those stages, or like someone, let's say like Autumn Fuller, for example, Fuller Bentley, she's now married. I remember Autumn as a teeny tiny little thing.
Me too.
In shows with my son Kai coming up. And then I got to direct her in My Son Pinocchio Jr. And now she's performing as Anya in Anastasia with Theater Tuscaloosa with me, and I'm side by side with this young person that I remember as a child, but now that I'm sharing scenes with her, I'm like, this is a fellow kind of pro, you know. I mean, this is someone who knows what she's doing, and is really very, very competent. And to see these kids where they can start with TCT, you know, kind of learn and grow as they go. Sometimes then some of them branch out and try their hand at the ACT down the street.
Sure.
Some of them then end up at the university or at Shelton State in those programs. And then they come up, and if they stay in our community, maybe they don't pursue acting as their full-time career, but they're well positioned then to perform in Theater Tuscaloosa shows as well. And you don't find that in every community, especially a community of our size. I think that is tremendous.
I do too. And I last directed Autumn. She was my Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz.
Yes, I remember that.
That was the last show she did with us, and she's like a little professional.
Yep.
And we don't just do theater at TCT and at Theater Tuscaloosa. We like to teach about theater.
Yes.
So that the skills that I was just referring to can continue to play on in the rest of their lives. And you know, it's a very small percentage of people that actually do say, okay, I've graduated from the University of Alabama, I'm going to New York.
Right.
Or I'm going to Los Angeles.
Right.
And so what Adam was just talking about is that's what we see the most of, really, is these people who still hang around, and they have other full-time jobs.
Yes.
But at nights, they like to come and play. And that's, we love seeing that.
Yeah.
And it's all over the town.
Well, and it's also about, you know, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, like the opportunity to have a place to share the talents, the God-given talents that people have in our community. And there are a lot of super talented people. in this community.
Absolutely.
That's why we exist, is that there is a place for these kids to share this beautiful talent that they have. And then as teens and then as adults, you know, people sometimes, I often say it's hard for us to sell why Theater Tuscaloosa is a nonprofit organization, because we don't serve, you know, mostly children, and we don't serve a cause like cancer or something like that. It's obvious that, oh, we're raising money to research cancer or whatever, you know. But we are doing something equally as vital, which is giving people an opportunity to perform and share that talent with the community, and then uplift the community who is uplifted by sharing in that experience, that live theatrical experience together. It gives me chill bumps thinking about how important this mission really is to not just to our community, but any community, to have a thriving art scene where people can do that.
I agree. And don't just think, oh, I didn't get started when I was 5. It's too late for me to come in and start theater. That's not true at all. And one of the most wonderful things I love to see with our casts is that the older, more experienced ones will help the new ones. and just take them by the hand and say, here, let me tell you about this.
Right.
And that's that part of that teamwork and working together. And it's also, I think, beneficial for the older kids to get that
Yes.
experience of
To mentor.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of our TCT kids do that. They come back and they become counselors at our summer camps, right? They come back and they give back.
And I've seen them come back and serve backstage when they've aged out of being on stage, but they'll help backstage.
Right.
Absolutely.
But you know what other kind of help happens in our community is we collaborate as arts organizations at that next level. You know, there's lots of different ways that TCT and Theater Tuscaloosa have collaborated over the years. For years, we did a joint camp. That we
Yes.
were cooperative for that.
A very successful one.
Oh, it was very successful. And then, but there's also collaboration where we share props, we share set pieces, we share costumes. Our costumers are all on great basis with each other. They all know each other, and each one knows their cachet of all the things that they have in stock. And so one will call the other and say, hey, have you got da 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 da?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we did that in The Wizard of Oz, or we did that in this year. Let me pull that for
And
you.
the same for UA too.
Oh, absolutely. You as part of that mix for sure.
Right, and actually right now, our full-time costumer used to work for Theater Tuscaloosa in the costume area. So
That's right,
talk about-
Jessica, yeah.
Talk about sharing.
Yeah, sharing knowledge, sharing resources, sharing time. And so sometimes people may not realize when I support Theater Tuscaloosa, I'm also then in a trickle-down sort of way, I'm helping TCT, I'm helping the ACT, I'm helping the University of Alabama, and vice versa. All those things help each other out. And I think that's beautiful because it's so easy for us to follow kind of into our silos where we're like, oh, this is Theater Tuscaloosa, this is the ACT, this is whatever. But we share talent back and forth. You know, not just actors, designers, directors.
Right, and that's the way it should be.
Right.
And also the high school theater programs. We
Right.
to also support all of them as well. So it really is this ecosystem of live theater production where we're all helping one each other. We're all sharing our resources, all sharing our knowledge.
Adam has actually directed for us several times and
Yeah.
helped in ways such as at our mock audition workshop where a judge comes in to give
Yes.
feedback on their monologue that they're preparing for the next audition.
Which is a joy. I love doing that for those kids because then the pressure's off because he's not directing the show.
That's
but
right.
He can give me a little bit of advice so that when I am sitting in front of that director, I feel a little bit more confident.
Absolutely, because we like in those situations, we like to give not only written feedback, but verbal feedback.
Yes.
And I'd like to say Tina has directed for us before, but she's always so busy directing here
Right.
that maybe when she retires,
Maybe.
You know, that's coming up, I hear.
maybe when she retires, she can come
Can I
direct.
do a smaller show, Drew, and not have to do 100 kids? I've
Okay.
actually directed a couple of children's shows. You're going to have to guide me through that.
Okay, we'll cut it down to 80.
So we'll do some mentoring. Drew will now mentor Tina.
See?
Will be beautiful.
That will
You
work
can come
out.
to me if you have any advice.
I
If you need any
appreciate
advice.
that. Appreciate that.
Okay, so we have a plan.
We've got a plan.
Got a plan.
Tina has about 50 plans for retirement.
Right.
She's going to be much busier in retirement than she's ever been not
Drew, I'm
retired.
going to take a nap first. I can tell you that.
I know.
right
But Tina and I were visiting a little bit ago, and it's just like there's Tina standing there, and people knowing she's retiring,
Yes.
and everybody's pulling on a leg or they're pulling on an arm, and Tina's
Right.
like, "Let me take a nap first."
Let me take a nap.
Well, let's talk about some of the ways we collaborate. We've talked about the theater industry and kind of thought about that particular silo. But there aren't hard walls there either. Because, Tina, you can talk about some of the ways that you have reached out and been part of the symphony. And I know there are other arts orgs and things in town and also in the state. You know, talk about some of the ways that you're able to collaborate across those lines.
Well, the city and the county, actually the state, talks a lot about livability. And, you know,
Right.
one of the things that I've been involved with the chamber in the past, and the livability factor and the fact that people can come to our community and see children perform, to see adults performing, if they are performers and want a chance to, you know, or just be in the audience. So livability is a big part of the city of Tuscaloosa. The Saban Center is a big coup, I think, for TCT, but also other children's things in town, and we're thankful for Nick's Kids and what they've done for
So
children's
thankful.
theater. But you
So
know,
thankful.
children's theater has got a sustainability about it, and there's something about sustainability of our arts organizations that I think is important, and I think that's why the city understands that and why they want to support us. But I'll give you an example. We had to do something with the symphony for their children's programming, and so they hired me to put together a program. Well, then I called Drew up and said, hey, what? I need some kids, you know, as opposed to adults. And so Drew's like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And so there's this constant communication going on. And Tuscaloosa Community Dancers always calls on us to, if they need actors, particularly for Nutcracker and that sort of thing. And so there's always this sort of wide open communication happening, I think, with the arts organizations in town. Kentuck's real good about, if they ever have needs for the Kentuck Festival, if they've got some sort of arts needs, that they call us. So
we also work a lot with UA and their film programs.
Right.
Yes,
for lots
for actors.
Yes.
Yeah,
and that's I think that's such a great experience for the kids, because stage acting is totally different than acting for a camera. It's totally different, and it's good for them to see that difference and live that in whatever film they are doing.
But I just think that Tuscaloosa is this rich place, and we talk a lot about how great it is to
That's why we have so many banks.
That's right. We have so many banks. I always say that Bryant Denny is our biggest theater in town, and we and Drew and I are so fiercely. I mean, we love Alabama football, do we not? We love all Alabama, everything.
I cannot go out and get the Sunday paper if Alabama lost the day before.
Is that your ritual thing? Is that you're like?
So does it just have to decompose in your driveway?
No, that happened with my mother. That started when I was a little girl. We just didn't get the paper.
Because if you didn't read it, it didn't exist.
Right, it never happened.
That is hilarious.
But now when we've won, which we do most of the time,
right?
Yes.
We can go run out there and get that paper and scour it.
Yes.
Yes, we are fans.
How many times do we say Roll Tide when we see each other? It's like, hey, Drew, Roll Tide.
Okay.
So we're fiercely competitive. I know people are shocked to find that out. But we are
all
fiercely.
Three of us actually.
Oh my gosh.
We're tremendously competitive.
Crazy.
And yet we're able to collaborate. And you know what?
That's very true.
Another way that we all collaborate is these statewide organizations like the Alabama Conference of Theater. When they are doing their Trumbauers, their regionals, and then their state, they call on our organizations for judges. You were talking about judging, as a mock audition, but also for there's regional Trumbauer, which we're actually going to host at Shelton State this coming fall. We're very excited
y'all
about
hosted
that.
before, haven't you?
We have, but it's been way, way back. Not since I've worked here. So not in the last 15 years, no. So this is kind of like a huge homecoming that we're able to bring them back here. So we're going to host. And then we'll undoubtedly provide a bunch of judges as well. But then at that state level, once they progress from the regional to the state, Wheeler, Jeanette, me, Tina, we have all served on those statewide organizations. And producer Layla, who's behind the camera right now, was very active with Alabama Thespians, serving in statewide elected offices. So not only are we working within our little organizations, we enrich our whole city, we enrich our whole county, we enrich our whole state, and we help enrich the country by being involved with things like the American Association of Community Theater when they need things for those kinds of things. So we're trying to be really plugged into that whole, like I was saying again, ecosystem of the arts generally, but also the whole theater world, and that's why it works.
Yes.
If we stay in these little silos, we will never be as strong as when we work together, even though we're competitive.
We are. We compete to get to the water fountain. I mean, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad.
We could get there fastest.
As much as I love the administrative side of things and how we collaborate, it's still, there is nothing more fun than acting with Drew Baker.
Oh, that is the truth. Oh my goodness.
There is nothing more
Speaking
fun.
of competitions, me and Drew went to regionals with a play that Tina directed.
Right.
We did.
And Drew won Best Actress in all of the SETC.
That's right.
She was amazing, Grace.
Well, and so were you. Yeah, and so that shows just, we
but I
could
didn't
probably
win.
sit here all day and talk about the different times that we've collaborated. And actually, we had done that play before, many years before, And
Downtown Northport.
I know, upstairs in a little closet.
How about
Right,
that?
right.
Oh, the irony.
Adam's Antique.
Adam's and she and I played, in that play.
Right.
together.
We played the roles together, and
Yes.
later on Kathy came in to do it, but and then Adam stepped in. But
Waterbury.
gosh,
Waterbury.
we've done so many fun
We're talking
things
about the end
together.
of the line.
And-
That's the play that we're
Right.
talking
The
about.
end of the line, which is, I think it's just so beautifully written.
Yeah.
And if you just do the play and keep it honest within what the play says, the play will succeed.
It's gorgeous.
Don't try to put your own glitter on it.
Right.
But the very last thing we all did together was the chicken play.
Oh my gosh.
It was-
Listen, you
A
get
country-
real creative during a pandemic.
A
and we
country
got
COVID
real.
Christmas Carol. Lights
Oh.
out in Cuda County. A country
COVID
COVID Christmas Carol.
Carol.
Written and directed by Steven Tyler Davis.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Stephen Tyler Davis, who is another great person to reach out to. He's in Huntsville
And
now.
collaborate.
Right.
And
yes.
collaborate with. And he's worked with all of us.
Yes.
Well,
he's
he
come
helped
down.
launch our Project Broadway camp that we
Right.
started doing.
Right.
And he did gave some advising because he's done children's theater up at Huntsville forever, and so he came down and talked with your board and did some things.
Yes, he did.
So, it's a small community, but yes, during COVID we were trying to figure out programming, and so Stephen said, "Hey, I've taken this sort of Christmas Carol and turned it into this Southern gothic
Yeah.
comedy." And so
Let's
we
share
did
a behind the
this.
scenes fact about that. It was originally titled Lights Out in Cooter County.
Right.
And I had to gently say, could we rename the name of this county? Because some people might hear Cooter County and maybe get the wrong impression
Right.
in Alabama.
So it's Cuda.
So it's
Cuda
Cuda, Cootah, not Cooter.
Like Anastasia.
Anastasia.
And
No,
can I say
Anastasia.
something really quickly about the beginning process?
I love
of
to be
that?
Anastasia.
You
With
are.
the you and the you.
But right at the beginning, I told Tina I'd love to help with any type of project going on, and so Stephen wrote this play,
Yeah.
and it starts out with about 3 pages
Of Drew
of
Baker
dialogue,
on stage by herself.
and I remember sweet Stephen Tyler Davis would come over to my house, sit on the couch, and I'd look at him and I'd say, I can't learn all these lines. I just can't. And
Which
he-
is baloney, because you can do anything.
Yes.
Well, and Stephen just looked at me and he said, okay, all right, Trent, all right. And then he proceeded to make me learn every single
Yes.
line.
Well, we're going to pull this whole conversation full circle, because speaking of learning a lot of lines at the last minute, if you will recall, I was not originally in that play.
No,
It
you
was
were
supposed to be Jeff Wilson, and we had to switch at the last minute from doing it outside at Government Plaza to
Right.
do a video because there was a huge surge in COVID at that time.
And there was supposed to be probably about 20 degrees outside,
Yes.
too.
But we couldn't get into the building at a time when Jeff could be at the taping.
Right, right.
And so Tina came to me and was like, hey, we're up against, I need you to learn this
Right.
part. And I was like, okay. And I picked up that script and I walked around my backyard until it was in my brain.
And guess what? He had a lot of lines, too. I'm
Yeah.
complaining about myself.
Well, it's a three-person play. I mean-
plus Ernie.
But remember,
Well,
we
yes.
would wear masks, and then we would lift them up, and then we'd put them back down. It was nuts. It was nuts.
Very, very strange time.
so
But,
fun.
everybody had to do that sort of thing
Yeah.
during.
But we innovated and we collaborated.
We
and we
did.
made it work.
And now, every time we hear a chicken cluck, we all turn around and look up. So we all
Y'all.
have that in common.
I'm at the bottom of my cup. And,
Oh!
and so I think we're going to have to wrap up this episode so we could go to lunch. I think
Well,
that's what we'll
actually,
end up
I've
doing.
ordered pizza in.
Oh, wonderful.
So we'll keep going.
Yeah.
I have eaten so much pizza in the last week. Anyway,
I tease, Adam.
I
tease.
know. You were a tease. You were just a tease, girl. Look, I'm Adam,
I'm Tina.
And I'm Drew.
and we've been
Brewing
Theater. Cheers.